A man in a faded corduroy jacket walked into one of the most expensive steakhouses in New York City, and from the moment the hostess looked him up and down, you could feel the judgment in the air. He didn't belong there, at least that's what everyone thought. What no one knew was that under those secondhand clothes sat Daniel Cross, a man worth nearly $10 billion, the owner of the very restaurant he was being brushed aside in. He wasn't there for the food, not even for the wine. He was there to test something that money usually couldn't buy: honesty. And that night, honesty came to him in the most unexpected way. Written on a folded napkin that nearly burned through his hand. Daniel had built Cross International from scratch, turning it into a corporate empire stretching from luxury hotels to biotech labs. But with every new skyscraper and every boardroom deal, he felt further and further away from the kid he used to be, a boy who sketched houses on scrap paper in a small Ohio town. Somewhere along the climb, he had lost sight of the world outside glass towers and chauffeured cars. So every few months he'd put on a disguised second-hand jacket, scuffed boots, thrift store glasses, and slip into one of his own businesses just to see the truth behind the polished reports. That night, he chose the Ironwood Steakhouse, the crown jewel of his hospitality division. The hostess gave him a fake smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Do you have a reservation?" she asked, already knowing he didn't. When he shook his head, she tapped her tablet dramatically, sighing like he was ruining her night. "I can seat you near the kitchen," she said. Translation: "We'll hide you in the worst corner so you don't ruin the view for our real guests." Daniel nodded, kept his voice rough and quiet, and followed her. The glares from other diners clung to him like static. Suits worth more than most people's cars, glittering jewelry, all pausing mid-bite to stare at the man who looked like he couldn't afford a coffee, let alone a $500 steak. He sat down at the wobbly table by the swinging kitchen doors, the worst seat in the house, and smiled to himself. Perfect. That's when she appeared. Her name tag read Clara. She couldn't have been more than 23, with brown eyes shadowed by exhaustion and shoes so worn the leather cracked at the toes. But when she greeted him, "Good evening, sir. Can I get you something to drink?" Her voice carried something none of the others had: sincerity. He ordered the cheapest beer, waiting for the flicker of judgment he knew so well. But Clara didn't blink. Of course, she said, with the same steady tone she might have used for a senator. Daniel leaned back and studied her as she moved through the room. Unlike the other waiters who glided toward tables full of money and power, Clara treated everyone the same. And yet there was something else. Her hand trembled slightly as she set down bread. He noticed the dark circles under her eyes. That wasn't just tiredness. That was someone carrying the weight of the world. The manager, a slick man named Victor Kane, noticed too, but for all the wrong reasons. Daniel had already pegged him as trouble the moment he saw him laughing loudly with a group of city council members, his fake smile slipping the second he turned away. Kane barked at staff like a drill sergeant, and when his eyes landed on Clara, the look wasn't professional. It was predatory. Still, Daniel played his role. When Clara returned for his order, he said, "I'll have the Emperor's cut, medium rare, and a glass of the Bordeaux 99. Her professional mask almost cracked. The steak alone was $500, the wine, another $300. He might as well have been wearing a neon sign. This man can't pay." She hesitated for half a breath, then locked eyes with him. He wasn't joking. He wasn't nervous. It was a challenge, and she made her choice. "Excellent," she said, her voice even. "I'll put that in for you right away." Kane cornered her minutes later. Daniel couldn't hear the words, but he didn't need to. He saw Kane's finger stabbing the air, Clara's shoulders stiff with fear, and the way her eyes flicked toward him like she was silently apologizing. When she came back with the wine, her hands were steady, but he caught the faint crack in her armor. He leaned closer. "Is everything all right?" "Your manager seemed upset." Clara forced a smile. "Everything is fine, sir. He's just passionate about standards." Daniel studied her, then said softly, "I think your standards are higher than his." Her breath caught. For the rest of the meal, something unspoken passed between them. She answered his questions with surprising depth about the neighborhoods, the people, the hidden corners of the city. For the first time in a long time, Daniel felt like he wasn't surrounded by mirrors and yes men. He felt seen. And that's when she made her decision. While the room buzzed with the rhythm of dinner service, Clara slipped into the break room. She pulled a clean napkin from the stack, hands shaking as she scribbled in tight, hurried handwriting. "They're watching you. The kitchen is not safe. Check the ledger in Kane's office. He's poisoning the supply chain." She folded it, tucked it into her apron, and carried it out like a live grenade. As she cleared his table, her hand trembled again, not with exhaustion this time, but with fear. In one swift motion, she slid the folded napkin under the bill tray. "You forgot your tip," she whispered. Daniel's heart pounded as he slipped the napkin into his jacket. Outside in the cool night air, he unfolded it under a street lamp. Those words, "poisoning the supply chain," hit him like a gut punch. This wasn't a waitress asking for help with rent. This was a conspiracy, a threat to everything he'd built. By midnight, he was back on the phone with his right-hand man, Marcus Lane. "Get me everything on Victor Kane, off the books, and send Ren." Ren was an ex-MI6 security specialist with ice for blood. Within an hour, she was sitting across from him in a black sedan, sliding him a janitor's uniform. "We're not breaking in," she said. "We're walking in." By 2 a.m., dressed as cleaners, they slipped through the back of the ironwood. Daniel pushed a mop bucket, heart racing, while Ren bypassed Kane's office security like she was brushing lint from her coat. Behind a fake bookshelf, she cracked open a safe. Inside, cash passports and a black leather ledger. Page after page of falsified invoices, kickbacks, and shipments from a condemned meat supplier. Kane wasn't skimming profits. He was feeding toxic meat to the city's elite, laundering millions through a ghost company. And there, hidden in encrypted files, was the proof Daniel hadn't expected: video recordings of Kane threatening Clara, spelling out her fake debt, dangling her brother's medical care like a noose. By dawn, Daniel knew the truth. Clara hadn't slipped him a desperate plea. She'd lit the fuse on a bomb that could have destroyed his empire. The next morning, the ironwood buzzed with its usual pre-lunch energy. Then 2 black SUVs pulled up. The staff froze when Daniel Cross stepped out, not in thrift store clothes, but in a flawless charcoal suit flanked by federal agents. Kane's practiced grin collapsed into shock. "You," he stammered, realizing the ghost from table 32 was the owner himself. Daniel's voice cut through the room. "We have business to discuss." Inside Kane's office, Daniel gestured at the Little League trophy on the shelf, the same one that had unlocked the safe. "That's where you keep your secrets, isn't it?" Kane's face drained of color. Arthur placed a tablet on the desk, flipping through evidence: fake invoices, poisoned meat shipments, blackmail videos. "We know everything," he said coldly. Daniel opened the door. "Clara, could you come in here?" She stepped inside, trembling. Kane snarled. She was in on it. She cooked the books. Clara's eyes filled with tears, but her voice held steady. "He threatened me. He said if I didn't help, my brother would lose his treatments. I didn't have a choice." Daniel turned to the agents. "You have what you need." Kane was cuffed. his protest drowned by the silence of a staff who finally saw the truth. Then Daniel faced Clara. Last night, someone in this restaurant showed more courage and integrity than I've seen in years. That person was you. Your so-called debt is gone. From today, your brother's care is fully covered by a trust. And as for you, you're no longer a waitress. You'll be director of our new Employee Ethics Foundation. You'll report directly to me. Clara's lips trembled. Are you serious? Say yes, Daniel said gently. Tears streamed down her face as she whispered, Yes, I accept. The restaurant erupted in stunned silence, staff staring as the young woman they'd seen worn down and bullied was lifted higher than any of them could have imagined. And Daniel, he left knowing his empire wasn't just numbers anymore. It had a soul again, thanks to one folded napkin and the bravery of a waitress who refused to bow to fear. Now here's the question I want to leave you with. Was Clara right to risk everything by passing that note? Or was it reckless gambling her job and her brother's life on a stranger in thrift store clothes? Have you ever seen someone in real life show that kind of bravery when the odds were stacked against them? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear your stories. And if this tale of courage and justice struck you, hit that like button. Share it with someone who needs to be reminded that integrity still matters. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories that will make you believe in people again.